So FeedUs is what we refer to a cloud content management application. It's sort of like a CMS in that it's easy to post content on a website, but it's unlike a CMS in the traditional sense. CMS is you download that software, you add them to your servers, then you set up your site with that software. So the way ours work is it's basically by code. So you add code snippets to a site, almost like adding a YouTube embed video code snippet, and the content is then stored on FeedUs and is relayed through essentially our web service that we created to your site. So it installs much different, and because of that, the way it's set up, it allows you to put content on any site that you control or within web applications without having to run a content management system to set up the entire site.
So can you give me some examples of people who are a good fit for your solution or different types of sites that would be well suited to it?
Sure. Probably the best solution it fills is when you have just one page or a couple of pages and you want to be able to edit the text easily and control the copy, and you don't want to have to add like an entire WordPress CMS or Drupal or something of that nature. So if there's just a smidgen of text on your page and you want someone who's non-technical to be able to make changes to that, it's probably the best solution for it. But it can be used in a variety of formats. Our biggest customers are typically to date have used it in sort of a blogging type system, where they have a number of different bloggers who submit articles into FeedUs, and then that uses FeedUs to disseminate those articles into a variety of their websites. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so they actually use it to help almost syndicate their content
Correct.
Across their properties.
So essentially what we've done is we separate the content from the presentation layer, so that it can be used in a number of formats. So that same customer publishes it on multiple sites that they have based on the kind of content it is. And then they also put it on Facebook pages. They have a couple of different Facebook pages, and so that content is formatted for each individual place that's going to be shown.
So I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on the future of content management systems and kind of the interplay of cloud computing, and also the fact that there are so many different types of social media properties that are kind of dominant players in different niches, and the need to have the ability to really be able to transport your content all over the place.
Yeah, I mean that's an interesting thing because Salesforce just launched a cloud CMS, and their cloud CMS is a lot like a normal CMS, except that your pages are uploaded into their gigantic CDN or their cloud service that they have. So they're kind of the first one to make the word cloud CMS more kind of it's kind of trending or being popular in enterprise software. So I think we'll see more companies start to offer a cloud CMS service. But essentially, those are just hosted applications that are very similar to if you had WordPress running in the cloud. I mean, you still have to download that PHP WordPress software and put it on servers that are running in the cloud, but you can then say it's a cloud CMS. And from your point about being able to reuse content in different social media situations or in different, how about mobile, we want to be able to reuse a lot of the content in what we call different presentation layers. And the old school CMSs don't really allow you to do that. Does that make sense? It's the content is part of the presentation layer, so there's no easy way to reuse it in all the different formats that we're looking at these days. So I think that our idea is keeping that content kind of unique and on its own and completely separate from whether it's on a mobile site or it goes to an iPad or it goes to an app, a web app or a mobile app. I mean, you want to be able to store that content in one spot and be able to reuse it.
So this isn't your first startup, is it?
No, this is I think my third, I guess my third startup. I originally worked for some guys who launched Guitar.com in '99, and we launched a number of properties, and then I broke off on my own and had my own business with two other partners, and it was called 1871 Media, and we had that for 5 or 6 years, and we did mostly newspaper related websites. And we sold that to a customer, and then in 2007 we started working on FeedUs.
Nice. So, can you kind of share what your kind of longer term vision is for the business or the service that you're providing?
Sure. We continue to make our software. We really just three of us together, and we've started to market it basically in the last couple months. Really, like push forward and try to get people to try it out. And so our big goals are trying to improve the software constantly and make it really what we want it to be. And I think that should take still towards the end of the year, but we hope to at some point, um, break even and have a software that has enough customers so we can have a small team of people that support just our customer base.
Great. So, for the people listening to this, what really is your ideal customer? We have a lot of people in a variety of different, career functions and industries that are among our audience. Which ones of them are you most interested or you think would benefit the most for your solution?
Well, we generally try to pitch our software to people who make websites or make applications. So our theory is that most people who make these sites are not the ones who handle the content. So we would like to market our software to them so that they make sites that include our software and then kind of pass off the duties of adding and managing the content within those sites or applications to the non-technical people who run the sites or applications. So our typical, really the customer that we try to get to check out our sites are developers and people of technical nature. But the software is for people who are non-technical to be able to log in and manage that stuff. So
now, how important is design for those non-technical people?
Well, what we try to do is separate the content, as I've mentioned before, they separate the content essentially from the design angle. So the raw text within an article, a blog post, it also might include images or embedded video. That's essentially what you put into FeedUs. And then the way it looks in different devices or different applications is really dictated about how that stuff is set up. And so generally that's done by the developer, and the way the content would look on a site and how it functions in an iPad app, that sort of thing, is done more by the technical people. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. So really one of the big benefits is if you have a client that hasn't used a content management system before, showing them something like WordPress with all the different options and all the different menus is just overwhelming and overkill for what they need to do. So this really breaks it down to kind of the bare essentials of what they're doing on a daily basis or maybe a weekly basis, making their life a lot easier.
Exactly. So they can just log in, post something. And we also work, we have customers that use email to, sort of Posterous was kind of the first ones that did this. So they can just shoot an email in, it just grabs the text that's in the body, and then an editor might put it live onto a site.
Oh, cool. So I kind of want to transition to what's been breaking over kind of the last 24, 48 hours. So for people listening who don't know, you recently wrote a blog post about a cease and desist letter you got from Carla L. Reyes, who's a lawyer for Perkins Coie, who represents Facebook. And you shared that blog post on Hacker News, and for a few hours yesterday, it was one of the top posts. Can you kind of share the impact that had overall traffic to both your blog or your business, or just some of the effects of that?
Yeah, it's funny. As I've always, I read Hacker News, get links from Hacker News always, and I've always wondered what it takes to get to the top one. And it's incredibly powerful to be up top. I can only imagine what Reddit is, or when they're at the top of that site. Maybe it's even bigger. But for a while, it was the blog post I wrote. Within a half hour, it went to number 3 or number 2. I don't know if it ever made it to the top of Hacker News, but that was good for maybe 150 to 200 people every second on the site. And it's a short blog post, so
Yep.
those people read it and leave. And I don't have many pages on my site,
Mm-hmm.
so trending on there is pretty powerful. However, it's not exactly the way I would like to trend on.
Yep.
I would much rather not receive a cease and desist order from Facebook than and not appear. I'd like to appear on the top of Hacker News for something really cool and not this. But
Yep.
Going against big business seems to be a theme that appeals to lots of people who read Hacker News.
So from all these visitors, have you been able to drive them to FeedUs? Have you been able to capture people subscribing to your blog or people who follow you now on Twitter? Have you seen any increases in the rest of your social media presence?
Yeah, I think it's actually kind of, the big thing is traffic to both our site and to FeedUs. We were mentioned on TechCrunch yesterday too. They wrote an article about this, and that drove traffic. Again, I don't know which is bigger, Hacker News or TechCrunch. It's probably, they're about the same size, which is amazing, thinking that Hacker News really isn't anyone's business.
Yep.
So, but traffic to FeedUs was strong, and FeedUs it's not. We didn't get a lot of registrations from it. FeedUs is when you need it, you register for it. So maybe there's some brand recognition we get from it. But again, I'd prefer not to have a cease and desist letter, completely unrelated to my real life. So I don't know if just to give some background for people, Facebook has completely thought that I have invented some software that harms Facebook, and it's some other guy and not me, and it's a complete mistake. But I think that eventually they'll figure out that it was the mistake, and hopefully I can write another blog post saying that Facebook figured it out and they're nice about it. If you redesign a site, and you use a content management system, and then you decide you need to switch to another content management system, or you want to completely change the site design. Sometimes that's a big endeavor.
Yeah.
But if your content is in FeedUs, it's because it's separated from your actual site design. You can actually set up your CSS so that you can change a site design by, the designer can upload a new CSS, and the site completely changes the look and feel.
Yep.
I think that, so again, separating that content from, where it's displayed and how it's displayed is I think is really important, and it's very useful, especially in social media.
So from your experience at the media company you previously helped found,
right,
and developing those news properties, was that partially a catalyst for this concept?
Yeah, so we made sites for newspapers. We made the software so their writers and editors could publish, news articles online. It was sort of when a lot of the smaller news and medium-sized newspapers were just getting online. And we made e-commerce software. We made classified software. So we did like a whole bunch of things. But the problem was we never did any of those things very well.
Mm-hmm.
The software was good, but not great. The design was good, but it wasn't great. And so now when we launched FeedUs, what we wanted to do is just concentrate on making one component so that the people who are really good at design can take our software and work it into their sites and make better sites and better applications.
So previous to this whole Facebook cease and desist, were you able to get any of the larger tech startup magazines to cover FeedUs?
No. We've been in a couple small things. The Business Insider is a really great publication that's has Alley Insider, and they have a contributors program, so you can actually write posts for them. They're sort of approved and edited, so it's not, you don't have like free reign to publish things. So I've done a couple of those, and that was nice to get some promotion out of that. But I couldn't ever really, I can't get TechCrunch to write about us, and I still, if we're not getting cease and desist by somebody else, they probably still won't write about us. But
why? Do you have any ideas why?
Well, Yeah, I mean, you have to be kind of hot, and enterprise software is not that sexy. I mean,
Yep.
companies like Box.net have made it a little sexier. Salesforce definitely, um, but we're also in content management, and like I said before, everyone thinks they know everything about content management. So, I mean, the only thing now is maybe I can take the guilt from my picture was added by one of the writers at TechCrunch, and that sort of started this whole thing.
Uh-huh.
And she did email me, and she was like, sorry for getting you involved. I don't know if she
Yep.
said sorry, but she's like, looks like my post kind of started this, and so maybe I can use the guilt of that to get her to write some kind of post. But someday I think we need to just stick around for a long time, because I think that there's changes coming in content management, and I think that our model at least will be one that other people will figure out is kind of cool.
Now, do you feel like that's going to start thriving more and more as approaches to software change with widespread adoption of cloud computing?
Yeah, I mean, cloud computing has an enterprise level is basically taking over all facets of enterprise. Salesforce, NetSuite. I mean, there's a variety of companies and public company, but content management is still the you download server software on your servers, whether it's WordPress or Days software, which is now part of Adobe. You're buying a license and installing it on your server, and that's the only part of enterprise that really hasn't been affected by the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
So Salesforce, like I mentioned before, has their new cloud CMS, but you're just taking your web files and putting the entire file in the cloud. It's not really separating the actual content itself from the presentation layer.
For anyone that's seen this video and is interested in your service, do you guys have like a free trial?
We do.
What's the
You
pricing
can get
model
a
and how does that work too?
Yes. We have a 30-day trial. Now it sort of assumes that you're technical.
Mm-hmm.
When you sign up, it'll send you by email sort of the files to install on your server, so that the content flows into your site. But you can still sign up for the trial and try it out. You can post a couple articles and store it in there. That part's sort of like WordPress.com. So.
Mm-hmm.
That's 30 days, and at the end of 30 days, you can sign up for one of we have, I think, 3 pricing levels now. One's pretty cheap, so it's definitely easy to start up with.
And subscription service?
Yeah, subscription. So monthly or yearly subscription. So sort of the 37 signals model. So,
all right.
Cool.
Awesome. I really appreciate you taking time.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.